Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're dropping right into the incredibly dramatic story of a tech giant's near-death experience and its, frankly, unbelievable climb to global dominance. We're talking about Apple, right? But not the trillion-dollar behemoth we all know today. No, we're looking at a raw story of corporate warfare, radical simplification, and the immense power of starting over from absolutely nothing.
Okay, let's kick things off with a question that quite literally changed tech history. Picture this. It's 1983. Steve Jobs is looking for an experienced operator to help him run a wildly growing company, so he sets his sights on Pepsi-Cola executive John Sculley. And Jobs issues this famous high-stakes dare. Do you want to keep selling sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world? Well, Sculley took the bait. He actually left Pepsi and he came to Apple.
Section 1. The Boardroom Exile.
But here's the crazy part. Just 2 years after Jobs recruited him, Sculley and the board actually turned against a 30-year-old Steve Jobs. It's September 1985. Macintosh sales are sluggish, these two men are fighting fiercely over control, and ultimately, the board sides with the guy they brought in to sell sugar water. Just like that, Jobs is stripped of all operating authority over his very own products. Now, he didn't go quietly, of course. He tried to organize a boardroom coup to remove Sculley while the CEO was traveling abroad, but the plan leaked, it collapsed instantly, and within weeks, Jobs resigned. He literally walked away from his own creation with no company and absolutely no obvious way back in.
Section 2. The Garage Beginnings. Let's flash back a bit. 9 years before that boardroom exile, 21-year-old Jobs and 25-year-old Steve Wozniak were really just two guys in a garage in Los Altos. Wozniak had this dream of building his own computer, and, like a loyal employee, he actually offered to design to his employer first, which was Hewlett-Packard. Well, HP passed, so Jobs and Wozniak decided, you know what, we're going to build it ourselves. And they didn't have massive venture capital backing them up. To fund their first run of circuit boards, Jobs actually liquidated his Volkswagen minibus, and Wozniak sold his prized HP scientific calculator. They bet literally the only valuable things they owned.
To really understand the sheer magnitude of the risk they were taking, we have to look at the third founder, Ronald Wayne. He was an older engineer brought in to act as a 10% tiebreaker between the two incredibly strong-willed Steves. Wayne even drafted the original partnership agreement. But after just 12 days, he looked at the exact same financial liabilities Jobs and Wozniak were taking on, decided he just didn't want to carry that kind of burden, and sold his 10% stake back to them. For how much? Just $800. Wow. It's a pretty stark reminder of the ultimate cost of walking away too early, isn't it?
Section 3. 90 days to bankruptcy.
90 days. That's the magic number. More than a decade after Jobs left, Apple was quietly but surely falling apart without him. Their market share was shrinking rapidly, and their product lines, they had sprawled into this confusing, overlapping mess of different models that honestly nobody really understood. So by 1997, the company that had essentially defined the personal computing industry was literally 90 days away from total insolvency. I mean, they were running out of cash entirely. This wasn't some corporate metaphor. It was a very real countdown clock ticking down on a board of directors that had simply run out of ideas.
Section 4. Radical Simplicity.
So the turning point here didn't exactly look like a victory lap. In late 1996, Apple's board pushed out their CEO and quietly acquired Jobs' own venture, Next, for roughly $400 million. Now, this brought Jobs back into the building as an advisor and soon enough, interim CEO. But he faced a brutal choice right off the bat: Apple pride versus Microsoft survival. In a move that would have been totally unthinkable a decade earlier, Jobs actually accepted a $150 million investment from Apple's fiercest rival, Microsoft. Why? Just to settle patent disputes and survive the cash crisis. Pride completely went out the window because survival was genuinely at stake.
And here's the genius part. Jobs didn't launch something wildly new to sell his way out of this cash crisis. Instead, he cut. He completely slashed Apple's sprawling, incoherent catalog down to a dramatically simple 4-box grid. We're talking consumer and professional, crossed with desktop and portable. That was it. Everything else, canceled. It was this radical, incredibly disciplined strategy. Imagine shrinking your own product line to save a company 90 days from the grave.
Section 5. The Blueprint for Dominance.
Now, this subsequent run of products wasn't accidental. Think about it. From the colorful iMac in '98 to the iPod in 2001, the iPhone in 2007, and the iPad in 2010. None of these industry-defining products succeeded on hype alone. They were the direct, methodical result of those disciplined architectural decisions Jobs made during that terrifying bankruptcy countdown. Every single launch built on the success of the last, creating this incredible momentum that completely transformed consumer technology as we know it.
So what was the secret sauce? Behind all these products were 5 core pillars. First up, ruthless simplification. This meant concentrating engineering talent on just a few things done exceptionally well. Second, tight integration of hardware, software, and services. So, an iPod wasn't just an MP3 player, it was an entire, seamless purchasing experience through iTunes. Third was premium pricing and design-led differentiation. They basically bet that people would pay more for something that just worked better and looked beautiful. Fourth, building a sticky ecosystem where all your photos, music, and apps tie together, which makes leaving for a competitor incredibly inconvenient for you. And fifth, just like we saw with Microsoft, knowing exactly when to form strategic partnerships, even if it's with your biggest rivals.
Section 6. The cost of scale. Of course, as Apple scaled into one of Earth's largest manufacturers, its supply chain faced severe scrutiny. We have to look at the full picture here. In 2010, a truly tragic wave of worker suicides at their manufacturing partner Foxconn in China drew intense global attention to grueling labor conditions. And later reporting surfaced widespread accusations of excessive illegal overtime and extreme pressure inside the supply chain. Interestingly, in that exact same year, Apple also faced a very public hardware design flaw known as AntennaGate. This was where the iPhone 4 dropped calls if you held it a certain way, which required the company to scramble and eventually offer free cases to millions of users.
Now, these moments definitely do not fit neatly into a corporate highlight reel, but they are a factual part of the honest cost of scale. It's a complex reality. The very same manufacturing efficiency that allowed Apple to put hundreds of millions of sleek devices into pockets all around the world also placed enormous, crushing pressure on the human beings actually assembling them. As their market dominance expanded, public and regulatory scrutiny grew in direct proportion to their massive, massive influence.
Section 7. The power of starting over.
Today, the company that was 90 days from ruin is the most valuable on the planet. But you know what? The real lesson here isn't about the billions of dollars or even the computers and the phones. It's this. Are you willing to walk back into the wreckage of something you built, cut away almost everything except what actually matters, and start again from there? Steve Jobs was pushed out of the very company carrying his name, and 12 years later used radical simplicity to save it. If this explainer reminded you that the biggest comebacks sometimes start with a boardroom door closing behind you, stick around. This channel exists for exactly that, explaining real stories of people who just started long before the world gave them permission to. Subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.